and welcome to episode 234 of our SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is March 25th, and together with Robert and Goran, we're here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone. So today we continue our coverage of SAP and Microsoft Fabric integration. We really see a huge interest from customers on how to integrate SAP data with Fabric. Luckily, the open mirroring platform functionalities make the integration quite easy. In the past few episodes, we already had partners like DAB and Simplement who offer out-of-the-box solutions for this kind of integration, but also Interdobs and Powerdobs who showed how to integrate via SAP Datasphere. This time, we start with the partner ASAPIO, followed by Theobald, who also have worked on an out-of-the-box integration of SAP data into Microsoft Fabric. Before we take a closer look at their solutions, let's have Ulrich Christ quickly introduce the overall setup again. Ulrich, it's great to have you back. So what can you tell us quickly about the open mirroring functionality?
Yeah, thanks, Holger, for the introduction. So let me very quickly set the scene again. Database mirroring in Fabric is basically how we envision data replication in kind of in a very simple and user-friendly experience, like a turnkey experience, as we say, with very little configuration and constant data flow of change data into Fabric. So how does it work? First of all, there are two different flavors of mirroring when we talk about the concept. There's the built-in mirroring experiences, where we basically have where Microsoft and Fabric has the complete user experience integrated. We basically build connectors. We have the user experience, which allows you to connect, select the sources, start the replication, monitor the replication. That's what we see here on the screen. Right? So we basically have on the left side here on the vertical path, you see that we have a connector, we have a landing zone, and we basically fetch the data from the source, starting with an initial load followed by incremental loads. The data is landed in the landing zone, and then we have a second step, which is the actual CDC processing by the mirroring engine, which picks up the data from the landing zone, for example, the change data, right, and merges the changes with the sync table. So whenever there's an insert here, it will be inserted into the sync table. If there's a delete, it will be deleted. Updates will be updated, right? This is how mirroring works if it's when we're looking at the integrated mirroring. Now, basically, what we did with open mirroring, and this is how we integrate partners into that solution, is that we opened up the specification for the mirroring landing zone. Basically said, went along and said, okay, if we specify how we expect the data to land here, then we can open up this functionality here to anyone. And that anyone includes third parties, right? Partners could also be customers, right? A customer who, and we have documented that. We have links in our documentation which contain the specification of the landing zone and how we expect the data to land there and how to configure and trigger the whole process end to end, and kind of register a landing zone with the replication engine, with the mirroring engine. All that is publicly available, and anyone can basically implement that. And as you said, a lot of partners in the SAP ecosystem have done that. ASAPIO has gone that route as well, and we'll see their specific solution in a couple of minutes. The process is slightly different. There's typically not an integrated user experience because there's an external tool which reads the changes from the SAP system and lands them in the landing zone. So the configuration, scheduling, all of this is done outside of Fabric. But once the things are configured in the external tool, data flows into the landing zone, and we are aware of the changes. We get notified of the changes, and we basically process them. So the end-to-end process is pretty much the same. Also from a monitoring perspective, we have monitoring experiences included in Fabric, which allow you to see how much data is flowing in from the external system, how it's getting merged. So you have a monitoring overview of all what's happening, but the configuration happens on the source side. Now, coming to a very brief overview of the status when it comes to open mirroring and the integration we're doing in the SAP space. You see that we have a lot of partners who are already ready and on board with their or onboarding customers to their solutions. Today, we basically do the following. We show you that ASAPIO is just about to move from the right side to the left side, right? And that's basically, I think it's time to hand over to Jakob now to really like make a reality and prove that it's a reality what I just showed you on PowerPoint.
Perfect. Thanks, Ulrich. Yeah, Jakob, welcome to our show. Maybe before we dive into what ASAPIO is, what the solution is, maybe you can quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be here, and yeah, it's always working closely together with you. So my name is Jakob Vogelsang. I'm responsible in ASAPIO for our business area that deals with our integration product and the respective consulting services around it. So ASAPIO is a Munich-based software and consulting company, and so we are active in the market for a bit more than 20 years. And so since 8 years, we have our software solution, which is the ASAPIO integration add-on, and that now basically provides a direct connectivity to OneLake and to Fabric and to various other services from the vast Microsoft universe. And so we're going to talk about that and learn how it works. And yeah, we're very excited that we now have the possibility to connect directly to open mirroring and make the integration more seamless than it was before. So So shall we try to share my screen, and then we can understand what basically the offer is about. So so at ASAPIO, really our mission is to make SAP integration as seamless as possible. As we all know, there is a huge data treasure within SAP systems. So many different processes touch SAP systems and SAP data, but really it has always been challenging to basically lift that data treasure. And what we try to do is to make that process more convenient by providing our ASAPIO integration add-on. And so basically for quite a few years, we have now built bridges between the SAP core systems, so S/4HANA, ECC, or any ABAP-based system, and the outside world and other platforms. And so what you see here is basically the overview about our product. So the ASAPIO integration add-on here, which is so technically, it's an ABAP-based add-on that is installed or imported on your S/4HANA system, on your ECC system, or for that sake, any NetWeaver ABAP will basically do. And what it then does is it builds a bidirectional connectivity towards cloud-based services. And so we have a very rich set of services from Microsoft Azure that we connect to. So historically, we have come from the area of event-driven and real-time integration. We have then integrated to the Teams platform. And so since last year, we also then have the direct connection to OneLake and to Fabric, which is now enhanced using the open mirroring technologies. And so it basically makes a whole suite of connectors here for the different integration purposes. And so this is essentially what we are going to demonstrate today. And maybe a few characteristics about our solution here. So as you can maybe also guess from the picture here, our approach is that we have a direct connectivity towards the services that we connect to. So there is no additional middleware needed, no additional staging area or anything in between. So, but we have a direct connection towards OneLake and towards Fabric. So there are also no security or maybe compliance questions when data is staged anywhere in the middle or so, but it's really a direct connection. There's also, for that sake, of course, no separate hardware needed or no separate external application that is running in any kind of container or virtual machine or so. But our add-on is directly installed into the core system. And for that matter, it can also really react on all the changes that happen within the SAP system. It can react in real time, of course. And as it has the access to the ABAP application layer, of course, it can replicate any data from the SAP system in a compliant way to Fabric and to OneLake. And so originally, maybe as I said before, we were coming more from the area of real-time event-driven integration, but so that has always been one core of our product, that we can basically react in real time to all of the changes that happen in the SAP system and send them to the outside world. So replicating them to Fabric then also. But what we also had in our product all of the time was that we have a very high performance batch load mechanism or full load mechanism that allows us to basically replicate huge amounts of data from the SAP system to the outside world. And so last year, basically, we realized that this, of course, is a perfect combination to also then connect the SAP system to OneLake and to Fabric, and to basically leverage these components that we have had before as well. And so maybe from a technical perspective, what our add-on really is based on, or what it prioritizes, is that we make the whole definition of the interfaces of the replications that you configure in the add-on, that this is all done codeless. Yeah, so you don't have to go into the SAP system and develop something in the SE80, but it's all done on configuration. So that, of course, makes it much more standardized and much more error-proof, of course. Then we obviously leverage the open mirroring technologies now for this seamless, as you said, turnkey solution that we can replicate all the data directly into the respective tables in the data lake. We have the possibility to have all kinds of transmission frequencies, if I could call it like that. Yeah? So we have, of course, real time, so we can react on even single changes and replicate them to the cloud. But of course, we have also all these batch mechanisms that we have, for example, an hourly delta or daily delta, or that you do full loads. Yeah? So depending on the use case, that is all possible. And due to the fact,
if I can jump in, what's the kind of lowest latency you can achieve, like beyond real time? Is there something like, can you go down to 5 minutes? 1 minute?
It's completely configurable. Yeah, you can do 1 minute. Some of our customers, they like to have more like 2 minutes instead of going real time, because they have so many changes going on that this real time thing may be difficult. But yeah, it's completely freely configurable how you do that. And of course, also per use case. Yeah, you may have certain control tables that maybe are never really updated. So maybe a weekly full load for those control tables is totally okay. But for other use cases, you want to go more real time. Yeah, but the point is we are part of the ABAP application server with the add-on. We basically, of course, we can leverage the multi-threading capabilities of the ABAP stack. Yeah, so we can replicate the data in a very high performant way, and we obviously get those real-time changes. It's then only the question: do we send them right away, or do we maybe capture them for some time and send them later? Yeah, but so the approach is applicable to then any data in the SAP system, also any database for that matter. Yeah, it's not restricted to, for example, HANA, but it could be any other DB as well. And it is also possible for every deployment mode. Yeah, so it could be for the on-premise, for the private cloud, for RISE with SAP. It has the necessary certifications. It is a clean core compliant approach, and it is not using the ODP technology. So that was maybe for the technical perspective, but really one thing that we haven't talked about and that is very important to us in ASAPIO is also the business and the data perspective. Yeah, because from our perspective, it's of course one thing to just replicate data to somewhere else, but you also have to do it in a meaningful and consumable way, and that is really one of the key highlights of our product. And you see here we call that predefined and custom data product. So we learned in many customer situations that just dumping essentially your SAP database into a data lake does not really help you in building a great analytics layer. I mean, when we look at SAP, why is SAP so successful? Yeah, because it can do very complex things. And obviously, when you have that level of complexity, you have a very complex data model, of course, in the background. Yeah, you have complex semantics. You have many tables that need to work together in a joint condition. Just look at a material master, for example. Yeah, material master in SAP has, I think, roughly 400 columns. Yeah, I mean, if you just dump that into a data lake and give it to an analyst, I mean, that's overwhelming. Yeah, or a standard data product like a business partner. Yeah, that is usually a join of 10 or more different tables just to build a business object that you can consider a useful object for your analytics layer and for your business partner. Yeah? And so we observed that a lot of customers it doesn't help them to just replicate the data directly to the data lake. And so what we offer is, on top of just, of course, we can do that with our solution. We can do straight table replication or CDS view replication. That's not the question, but what we offer on top of our product is a layer in which you can configure your own custom data products, your own structures, that you only send the data, the necessary data that you really need into your data lake, also in the format that you need it. You can also manipulate the data to make it really consumable and to not just that you do not just forward that challenge of then stitching the tables back together in the data lake before you can actually use it. And so this layer is there to build your own data products. And now, since last year, we have also enriched it with predefined data products. So just showing you an excerpt of the list here. Yeah, so the typical suspects, as I always say, of data products like sales orders, purchase orders, production data, customer data, and so on. These are all data products that we have modeled for both ECC and S/4HANA. So you can just turn them on right away. You could activate them right away without changing them, or you could use them as a template to further extend them, maybe with your custom tables or custom Z fields or so on, to make it even more turnkey. This
interesting
approach.
point you mentioned. So you have the same data products for both ECC and S/4HANA. I assume that means that the output structure, the structure which you transfer, is the same in both cases, while the underlying data model, and I think everybody who's listening to this podcast is aware of that, is completely different in certain cases. So when I imagine, I mean, this is probably a huge benefit if you're doing a migration from ECC to S/4HANA. Right?
That's exactly why we did it. Yeah, you can essentially you can do the transition without your analytics team in Fabric ever noticing basically that your backend system changed if the data structure remains the same. Yeah, and of course on S/4HANA you of course have the new CDS views on which we base the foundation of the data on. On ECC it's the table structure still, but the output structures, as you said, is the same for these. And we will see that also. I will demonstrate that in a minute, that you see that right away.
All the configuration for this is done in the SAP system itself. So that's what you said. There's no other component outside. You do everything in the so basically you just need to install the add-on in the SAP system. Then you have all the configurations there, and then the data is sent directly from your SAP system into Fabric.
Yeah, exactly. And we have now also renovated our product a lot because SAP GUI is maybe not the future of user experience in every case. Yeah, so what we have now also, well, who knows? Our ASAPIO Data Studio is now also part of our products. Yeah? So it's a browser-based UI in which you can basically also manage all these different custom data products, our standardized, predefined data products. Yeah? So you can turn it on and off, you can deploy it, and in the future you will also be able to manipulate it all from the browser, so you don't even have to go into the SAP GUI anymore. And I will also demonstrate how this works in a second as well. So I would say with that, if there are no comments at the moment, I would just jump into the SAP system and into Fabric.
Let's take a look. Yeah,
have a look at it. Okay, so like in a good cooking show, I prepared something beforehand. Yeah. So let's say, so for this use case here, we will look at sales order data. Yeah, so this is a table which is now in our workspace here in Fabric, and it has certain sales orders already replicated to it. And so I would like you to pay close attention here to the net value of the first sales order that we have here. So it's currently 120 euros. And so what we are going to do now is we are going to change that. So for that, let's go into the SAP system, and let me go into this particular sales order here. And so here we have these 120 euros that we just saw in Fabric as well, and we see that these are basically 4 tail lights. So I believe no one in the world needs 4 tail lights. Yeah, so I think 2 is probably enough. Yeah, so let's have
My son just turned 18. So I'm not sure if I think I told Holger, but yes, you do need taillights, and you need lots of them.
I could add a third taillight as well to the order, but let's keep it for 2 taillights at the moment. Yeah, so we have just saved that, and now the data is directly replicated. Maybe we can just have a look at it, how it is configured and how it is basically now transmitted. So maybe let's start with the transmission first. So we have our, within the ASAPIO integration add-on, we have our own monitoring component that is able to show you that how the transmissions are going on, if there are any errors, and of course, in case there are errors, there are automatic ways of trying it again, making sure that really all of the data reaches the cloud, of course. And so, yeah, what we can see now here is, of course, our sales order change that we just conducted a couple seconds ago that was accepted. So usually for many other connectors, you could now also look at the payload data, but given that we are now transmitting the data in the Parquet format, this is binary, and so we cannot really see the content here anymore. But yeah, we can at least see that Fabric accepted our transmission here. Yeah, so that's I think already a good indication. And now, of course, what I also want to show you is how we defined that data that we replicate. Yeah? And so, as I already said, we have this new ASAPIO Data Studio that I'm now going to show to you. And let me open that. So you see that it's our browser-based interface here, and I will now connect to our system. Of course, need to do the refresh as always. And so what you see now here is these are the standard and custom data objects that we have configured on the system. And this ERD system, that is now an ECC system. Yeah. So and we, as we said earlier, the output structure for the sales orders or for our pre-built data products is the same for both ECC and S/4HANA. So if I look now here, for example, in that sales order pre-built content, we can now see, so this is a sales order that is then connected to our Fabric connection here. And so for the ECC system, you can see that the content of the so the payload data is based on the typical tables that the sales order consists of in an ECC system. And so just to have maybe the direct comparison, if I now look at the data from an S4 system, so this is another system that I'm now showing here in our data studio. This is now the S4 system. And if I search for the sales order here, so you see now that the payload of this message is based on the respective CDS views, but the output structure, so which field names we have and how those the fields are interlinked, or that is all then the same structure. Now, so that is what we can do here in our data studio. We could also then, for example, deploy that to other systems or activate it for other connections. What I just want to show you also is how we can change such an existing interface. Yeah, and so therefore I'm now, for that I still have to go to the SAP GUI. That may change in the future as well, but for now that's happening here. And so what we see here now on the SAP system is basically the list of all the interfaces of all the data products that are currently configured on the system here. And so we can also look at our sales order change that we just executed. And here, this is now our codeless tooling in which we basically define the structure of the data of the payload that we are sending. Yeah, so here in our payload designer, you can see basically the tables that we have just from which we have taken data and sent them to Fabric. And we can also see which fields from these respective tables we have selected. And we can also work, for example, on the join conditions, so how the tables are interlinked. Yeah, so of course here you can manipulate the output structure quite a bit. But as we said, we can also just import these pre-built items here. And so now
quick question to the kind of interoperability between the predefined data models and the custom data models. If a customer is almost happy with the one which you ship but wants to extend it, how would that work? Would they have to copy it, or would they modify it?
You can just open it. You can just open it and extend it. Yeah. So it's like a sales. So like in this payload design here. And you can just then, for example, copy or open here the table. You can then select additional fields that you want to have, or you could add your additional Z tables. Maybe that so your custom tables with your custom data, and then just it would then just be included in there.
Okay.
So
and do you ship these pre-built data models in a separate transport, or is that part of the?
No, so it's all part of that transport.
So it all comes in one.
Yeah, exactly. So and basically this was now the custom structure that we just sent to our Fabric instance. Now I would say we go back and see whether the transmission was successful. So let's have a look in the sales order here again. And after fetching the data, we can see that the net value here has changed from 120 to 60. So it is only now 2 of those taillights included in our order. So yeah, that was basically the entire walkthrough. What I also what I also want to quickly say, so if anyone wants to try this, we have free of charge evaluation licenses available. So every customer can, of course, experience this on their own system, can experience the data studio and the pre-built content. And we will, of course, also help from the ASAPIO side to get all the customers started. And yeah, as you also know, there's currently a lot of interest in the market for that. So yeah, happy.
Perfect. And we'll put the links to the trial, to the sign up page in the show notes as well, so that everyone can easily connect to you. Quick question. I mean, you did the change in the sales order, and obviously then you showed us a lot of things on the table, but theoretically this would have been, or maybe it was actually real time here. So you made the change in it was immediately replicated to Fabric. Yeah. So then obviously it needs to be processed.
Exactly. So we learned that the processing on the change on the SAP system was now configured to be uploaded immediately. The import side here on the open mirroring, we observed that it takes sometimes between 30 or 60 seconds. So it has been received, but until the table is then updated. Yeah, and so that's, I think, how it's built. But
and I think this no, understood. But I think for real time, I think this is great if you have individual smaller things. If you upload or replicate really like terabytes of data for the initial load, then you would do a batch.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So in that case, so we just go back here to our configuration. So you see this now. So this is the sales order outbound configuration. And you see it's now set to incremental load. So that's real time. And here we also have full load and packed load. So these would be the other transmission modes in which you can then freely decide, for example, 5-minute delta, 1 hour delta, daily delta, or just a manual full load. There are a lot of customers start, of course, with a manual full load and then go real time or then go delta. I mean, that's, as you just explained also in the beginning, Ulrich, how it's designed on your side as well.
Great. Well, maybe one last question about performance, throughputs. I mean, we now saw one change. Do you have already some experience if you, I don't know, update 100,000 rows or 1 million rows or tens of millions of rows?
Yeah, we have had one customer so in the past who has even done 500 million rows as an update, and that is quite substantial, I would say. As I said in the beginning, we can leverage the multi-threading capabilities of the SAP system. So that gives us two two good two good options. On the one hand side, of course, we can make use of the processing power. On the other hand side, we can also make sure that we do not negatively affect the performance or have any implication on the business users. Yeah, so because you can basically tune how many server groups and how many nodes you are using for that replication, and then you can make sure that no one will ever notice that it is running in the background. And so
perfect. Well, great, Jakob. Thank you so much for this introduction. Thank you for creating the integration. I mean, with your experience or in the past about events, I think you also have shown that you have a very stable eventing engine there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this with lots of customers.
Yeah, and thanks very much. I mean, the collaboration was great. Yeah, when we worked together, implemented this, and it's great that we have this close partnership between our companies.
Pleasure from our side as well, Jakob.
Perfect. Great. Then thank you and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, now let's switch to our second partner in today's session, Theobald. For this, we have Fabian and Christoph with us. And actually, personally, this is really exciting for me because I have been working with Christoph probably 20 years ago or something like that, and we just reconnected again. So Christoph, Fabian, welcome to our show. Can you maybe quickly introduce yourself before we then go into your topic?
Yes, thanks, Holger, for having us on your podcast, and it's nice to reconnect with you after all these years, as you mentioned. It's great to be here. I followed this podcast actually in the last months or years, and we're happy to be part of it today. My name is Christoph Schuler. I'm the general manager for Theobald Software in the Americas, and I've been with Theobald Software for just over 10 years now. And prior to that, this is when, Holger, we crossed paths a long time ago. I was sometime at Microsoft, actually, in the early days of .NET connectivity to SAP. So this whole topic of Microsoft SAP interoperability has been a big part of my career for quite a few years, and is still near and dear to what I do today.
And actually, Christoph, I still remember you were the first one that I worked with who, I was still at SAP at that time, who created an add-in in Excel that allowed from Excel to connect to the SAP system, fetch data there. We could even update, or you could even then update data. You had a small CRM add-in for Outlook. It was absolutely amazing.
Yes,
this was really, really cool.
Quite a few years ago, yes.
Yes. Fabian.
All right. Thanks to Holger and Christoph. Again, also, thanks for having us. A little introduction. Maybe also from my side, I'm working at Theobald Software since over, I think, 6 years now. Yeah, I'm more into technical issues. So I like to explain customers, prospects, how our SAP integration solution is working. Yeah, so I'm doing the fun stuff, I would say. Yeah, so that's why I also would like to demonstrate maybe later on our way how to integrate into Fabric mirroring. Yeah.
You will have to. We insist.
Oh, wait. Okay. No pressure. No pressure, Ulrich. Yeah.
Pressure. Yeah. Pressure's on.
Perfect. So maybe before we see your demo, maybe can you tell us a little more about Theobald? What is Theobald doing? I guess a lot of folks know, especially when they're in the SAP and Microsoft integration, but maybe you can already share some more insights on that.
Yeah, I'll give a quick overview of who we are. In case you haven't heard of Theobald, I'll share my screen here for that. We've been around for just over 20 years, and we're an ISV, a software vendor specializing in SAP integration solutions, really ready to use integration solutions. So we're not doing any kind of SAP consulting typically. We're really focused on the development, the marketing, and support of these software solutions. And in our early days, this goes back to our ERP Connect library, one of our early products for .NET, also our SSIS plugin. And of course, over the years, that solution portfolio has evolved into Extract Universal, which you will see today, but also other solutions. And we primarily engage in SAP data integration and also some process integration. We have 2 locations worldwide. Our headquarters is in Stuttgart, Germany, and then we have an office in Seattle, where we work with our customers and partners in the Americas. And between those 2 locations, we have about 60 employees. And we have been, over these years, been working with close to 4,000 SAP customers globally. We have customers in all industries. I would say we're pretty strong in industrial manufacturing, also automotive, chemical, pharmaceutical, life sciences, really across all industries on a global basis. Also, our partner network is very important to us. First and foremost, we're an SAP partner, an SAP certified partner. But we've also had a very long-standing partnership with Microsoft through those early solutions that I mentioned. Really, over the course of the 20 years, we've enjoyed a very good partnership with Microsoft.
Cool. Good. And now you started to develop something new. You also leveraged, or when Microsoft Fabric was released, we heard before about the open mirroring capabilities in Fabric, and I think that was one thing that you have now also integrated, or what you're also now leveraging.
Exactly, yes. And so one of our main products, is you see it on the next slide here, is Extract Universal. It's a standalone tool that enables extract and load scenarios with SAP and environments. And what we have invested even before Microsoft Fabric was in the market is what we've invested in was CDC capabilities, or change data capture capabilities. That's something customers have talked to us for quite some time. And we felt like this is an area where we needed to improve our products and invest more. And so about 2 or 3 years ago, we came out with this component. You see it here in the middle section next to the table component is Table CDC. Mm-hmm. And this in particular, I think, works really well now with the technology from Microsoft around database mirroring, where basically the changes are captured in SAP as they occur on a table basis. And then our tool does the job of replicating those changes into the Microsoft Fabric environment, into the landing area, where the data is then picked up and merged into an existing database. So with these 2 technologies together, customers can achieve near real-time data replication from their SAP environment, whether that's ECC or S/4HANA. We also work with BW systems. We also work with Datasphere or BDC, APO, others, to achieve this near real-time data replication.
Mm-hmm. And the Extract Universal, that is an ABAP add-on, or where's Extract Universal running?
So Extract Universal runs on a Windows machine. So okay. It sits outside of the SAP environment. Mm-hmm. For some of the components that you see here, which are core to our solution, we call them extractors or connectors. The customer does need to import a transport. Mm-hmm. Or some function modules on the SAP system. So I would say that's probably not as extensive as maybe an add-on, an ABAP add-on. Mm-hmm. But yes, there are some components that are required to make certain extraction types work. Table CDC is one of them. So that would not work without the customer importing those function modules.
Mm-hmm. Maybe one question. Sorry to interrupt. Maybe one question from my side. You mentioned Table CDC. Now, it's been a kind of almost a religious discussion for many, many years whether you should extract data on table level from SAP or on higher levels like in S/4HANA system CDS views. Is that also something you support or you're planning to support? Because, as I said, I mean, there's never a black and white, right? Some customers are super clear on, I want the rawest form of data from the tables. And yes. Others tell you this is something nobody understands, nobody can ever work with that. So there's no simple truth. In the end, my impression is if you really want to be comprehensive and cover all customers, you basically need to support both. The question to you is, what's your take on that and what are your plans for that?
Absolutely, yeah. And so CDS views, I think especially with S/4HANA, take on a more important role for customers. A lot of customers develop their own CDS views and use them sort of as the main object to replicate data. It's almost as important, I would say, as tables maybe have been in the past, or tables are at the moment. So at the moment in our tool, we have still the ODP component, but customers are probably aware of the SAP note, where SAP explicitly prohibits the use of the RFC modules with ODP. So what we've done is we have enabled ODP over OData, which basically is compliant with the SAP note, but perhaps with some. And so that would enable CDS view replication, including CDS view delta replication. In the same way, we're now also looking at additional ways to have a more direct access to CDS views. That's still in research at the moment, but for now we have CDS views with delta enabled over the OData protocol in the tool.
Okay, cool, thanks. That's I guess a good story, right? Because as I said, you're covering the full extent of possibilities and options for customers.
Yeah, and that's really our goal. I mean, we showed these components on purpose. I think it is a market differentiator for us. We really work with a lot of interfaces in SAP, not just ERP, but also BW and others. And so we're trying to give customers a choice and really a suite of different tools that they have at their disposal to work with whatever works best for them. And in the end, it's all about enabling full, but also delta replication into environments like Fabric.
Great.
Yeah, so that was a brief overview. And also, I do want to mention our solution is SAP certified. Our RFC interaction and OData interaction with SAP is certified. And
that's actually also really interesting. So the solution is certified, and I mean, yeah, you said in the beginning, Theobald has had a lot of solutions for some time. The Extract Universal has been around for 3 years, so that's something I think that you said. But the solution is officially SAP certified. Is it also certified for RISE? Do you know that? Like if I'm a customer running in RISE? Okay.
Yeah. So what we've done is, so Extract Universal is one of the tools in our portfolio. We have other Extract products in the suite. And what we've done is, so there's a common base layer, a common technology layer to all of these tools. And that's what we have certified. And that is indeed also certified for use with RISE with SAP.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So let's see it. Yeah.
Yes.
Fabian, if you want to show us a demo for how it works.
Yes, sure. Thanks, Christoph, for your detailed information regarding the capabilities of our tool, Extract Universal. So I think you should be quite excited how this tool interacts with especially open mirroring in Microsoft Fabric environment. Yeah. So what I'm doing right now, I would like to jump into a little showcase, especially regarding table CDC. So what I'm doing here, I installed Extract Universal locally on my machine. I already created different SAP connections, so-called sources, and also a so-called destination to this open mirroring database. Okay. So what customers or prospects first need to do is they have to define a source to the SAP system, quite similar to the way how a SAP GUI, for example, is working. You can see I defined several systems. Don't panic, they are all EDIS systems, so there's no real data in it. Yeah. But as you can see, regarding the required parameters for the connectivity, it's quite similar as a SAP GUI is working. All right. So you need a host name, an instance number, a client, and of course a language. Yeah, in this case, it's English. Maybe some details. We never ever directly connect to the underlying database layer. We're always using the application layer of SAP source. Yeah. And that's why it's required to also insert a valid SAP user with a valid password. This is one option called plain. You could also use S&C as an encryption mechanism inside of SAP. And if it's required, you can also use single sign-on to map your Windows AD credentials to your SAP credentials. We keep it simple. I'm just using plain, this is my user. I can also just ping the SAP source if it's working, if I have the required authorizations to use this interface, yeah, and it seems to work. And now this SAP source can be used, okay? As you can see from the name and also from the host name, it's a quite new system. It's an S/4HANA system, okay? So the other part would be to define a one lake open mirroring destination. Here in this case, we are using the standard, which is offered by SAP, Microsoft, sorry for this. So we have to insert a tenant ID, a client ID. In general, to sum it up, it's based on Entra ID. So this is an authentication mechanism. And last but not least, you have to define the place, so the mirrored database, yeah, where you want to process the data into. So uploading the data into, all right? So I hope this is clear. This, what I'm showcasing now are all manual steps. You can also easily automate this. We also have tools for this, all right? So I'm starting with clicking on New, selecting the required SAP source. I'm using this S/4HANA system. Now I would say I have to name it, maybe podcast test, for example, and then I have to decide which kind of extraction type. Christoph mentioned so-called extractors we want to use. I would like to showcase, of course, table CDC. Click on OK. And now, as you can see, there's a new window popping up. And with this simple, you can search for existing SAP tables. All right. So I would like to give you a showcase regarding material informations in a new table called MatDoc. Yeah. So I'm just typing this technical name. Asterisks are also supported, and you can also search for the description. Okay. So as you can see, I get now a list of capable results. I'm trying to select the standard table called MatDoc, press confirm with OK. What we are doing in the background, we can entirely extract all the relevant metadata of this SAP object. This is really important, yeah, especially also for processing it into the mirror database, okay? Here you can see it's not initialized, as Christoph already mentioned. Doing the execution of our extraction, we are creating required CDC artifacts on the SAP source. That means we are creating database triggers and also a log table where all the data will be persisted, okay? Please keep in mind, get rid of full table reads. Full table reads is a big goal of most of our customers. All right. So that's pretty much it. Okay. I confirm again with OK. You should see this new created extraction here in the overview. And this is a general destination called web service, but we want to process the data directly into the open mirroring. Here, what you can see, you can also define the name of this table in this database. I would like to use this one. It also indicates that's the table in Delta mode, okay? And that's also pretty much it, all right? All the rest is done during runtime by our tool, okay? There's no additional manual work required on the customer side. So, I'm again showing you the manual steps. Normally, you will schedule the extraction with the capable with a tool that is able to handle, for example, either URL of the extraction or with a little command line tool to schedule the extraction. Okay, I run it. In this case, it's a full load. Okay, all the artifacts will be created on the SAP source side. Beside that, all my SAP authorizations are checked. They seem to be sufficient, all right? Only a few seconds after we extracted nearly 16,000 data of rows of data, sorry. And if I'm now switching to my browser to show you the result, here you see This is the landing zone, which I needed to, the URL of the landing zone, which I needed to insert into our destination. The database was already created by me. So if I'm now going to a different view, so-called an endpoint, I should see some entries here, tables. There should be also the Mattock Delta I just showcased. This was the name I decided to use. And if I'm just clicking, there should be a preview quite fast. Yeah, sorry, Ulrich. Yeah, here we go. So here you can see the initial load and the full data extract of this table, okay? But as I already mentioned, we want to get rid of these full table loads every time, okay? So what I'm doing right now, I would like to do a change directly on the SAP side for this table. So this is a little hack. I would like to show you, this is a standard barbie in SAP where you can directly change entries, okay? Don't use it, please, it's a hack, okay? And using the identical table, define it for editing. And now I would like to, oh, I forget something. I created a little simple report where I just count the plants, for example, in which material is persisted or located in which plant. This is important. Otherwise, there is no aha effect, okay? Here you can see it. Oh, hopefully, it's not that little. I just sorted it. And here you can see the count of plants. It's in German, sorry for this, yeah. And here you see the materials, yeah, where they are located. And if I'm changing now the name of a material, there should be, just by refreshing this report, you should see the change directly in your destination, all right? So going back, where let's have a look. I would like to change the name. Where's the name? Here we go. So it's a material, and just for testing purpose, no, not for testing purpose, I would like to rename it to event, maybe podcast. Yeah, save it in SAP. The extraction now can be scheduled, maybe every 2 minutes, every 60 seconds. Yeah, I'm doing this manually. The changes are already processed into, they are identified and also processed into our log table that we created for the initial run. Here you can see only one row was extracted. This is obviously correct, okay, because we only had one change. And if I'm now going back to this report, there are some delta mechanisms, some delta handling. This is completely capsuled by the user. So there is no action needed. This is all done thanks to Microsoft by this open mirroring database, okay?
Well, I mean, it's half you, it's half us, right? So it's
yes,
really a collaboration.
It's a good combination between change data capture extractor and also your mirror database. So if I'm now refreshing this report, it takes some seconds as usual. And here you can see, hopefully you can see it, there's a new entry called event podcast. Nice. And that's so easy to have near real data in your data source, in your destination, in your Fabric environment. So I'm quite excited still, yeah. Hopefully you as well. And that was my little demonstration. Yeah, thanks.
Nice, really nice.
All right.
Perfect. And you said, I mean, now in the demo, you clicked on run, but you said this can also be scripted. So potentially you could have then a scheduler that runs this every 5 minutes or every 60 seconds or whatever. And then obviously all these replications would be done automatically in the background, and you would just see the results in Fabric.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Really nice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool.
Also nice to see this really end to end, right? I mean, we typically, like when I do the demos, I stop at the database layer, but it's really nice that you actually created a small dashboard on top.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really cool. We saw the performance now with what was it, like 1,500 rows or something like that. Did you do any any tests with more data already?
Should I answer, Christoph?
Yeah, please go ahead. I'm happy to add some comments as well. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So this was just for demonstration to keep it simple. Our integration tool is capable for extracting real mass data. So we are talking about millions of data, rows of data, okay? So there is no limitation from this side. But as I mentioned before, of course, the first initial load could have millions of data, yeah. But in the end, by switching to the change data capture, to the deltas, there should be a significant reduce of the amount of data, which is required in this case to have a really near real-time processing in this case. All right? Yeah.
So, makes sense. So the initial load obviously can take then a little longer, but then once you have the data over, then you're only looking at the deltas, and then ideally this is much less information that needs to be replicated.
I'm sure we'll see challenging customer use cases very soon with large initial loads. Like we've seen that with customers using other connectors, where you have like billions of financial line items in AC.A in your S/4HANA system. I mean, that's something I guess we have not tested yet with this integration, but this is going to come very soon, and we'll work to ensure that this works as smooth as it did in the past with other connectivities which we offered. Right?
Yeah, and the two can also be decoupled in our tool. Yeah, sometimes customers do the initial load or the full load just using the table component, and they might do it in multiple runs with filters because it can take some time depending on the data volume. But at the same time, customers can also initialize the table CDC from the start, as Fabian showed. And that process tracks the changes completely independently in SAP. So once that's initialized, we track every change in the log table, and you could still do your full data load or replication in parallel.
That's a very good pattern, and that's something which people have done. Again, even in the ODP days, people have done a lot of times, right? Because it really allows you to maximize the resources, also split things, maybe even use, a copy of the data which you already have when you're migrating from one environment to the other one. Why go back to the source system? It's better to trigger and initialize a new replication from the new system and migrate the existing data from your old system instead of putting the load on the source system again. So that's a super efficient and super important aspect. Sometimes it sounds like a detail, but I think in real life use cases, it's super important. It's one of the deficits of OData connectivity in ODP, I guess, right? Doesn't support that.
Yes,
maybe a small hint to some people who might be watching this.
Perfect.
In the end, Ulrich, I have the feeling you fully understand our solution and the SAP integration we are running. So thanks. Yeah, good point.
So as you said, just to highlight again, the solution is available, so customers can use this today. They can. I mean, you said the Extract Universal has been around for a long time, but now also the open mirroring support is available, so customers of yours can use this immediately. I guess we'll put some more links and informations in the description, so anyone who wants to gets in contact with you or learn more about the solution, they'll find the related links and everything in the show notes as well.
Absolutely, yes. It's available now. We'll be showing it at FabCon next week. We'll also be there and hope to see you there. Ulrich, I think you're there.
Definitely.
And like you said, Holger, so Extract Universal has been in the market for quite a few number of years. Also table CDC. That's not something we just developed now for mirroring. We were really excited when Microsoft came out with mirroring because of this capability to merge into an existing data set without the customer having to write a single line of code. That's really exciting. And I think we saw that in the demo to get this enabled end to end really just takes a few minutes. And so I think it's a perfect match with the table CDC extractor. We're excited to talk to customers about it.
I think you just mentioned a very important aspect. That applies to all the other partners we're working with as well, of course. The extraction capabilities are proven, right? This is a technology which you've had for many, many years in all the other partners as well. right? So when you think about it from a maturity perspective, of course, this is a new integration end to end, right? But if you really look at the hard piece, which is getting change data out of SAP, this has been solved and matured over years, right? So it's really just about the integration. Of course, we will feel some pain. Let's be very honest, right? But it's basically on the easy part, right? And that's I think very encouraging also for customers, that basically we don't expect like half a year of maturing this product. It's probably something which will happen within weeks. That's I think an important thing. By the way, since you mentioned your docs, we also have our partner ecosystem website for open mirroring, and of course we'll add links to your solution to that as well, just like we will do with ASAPIO and everyone else. So as soon as we open up our docs again, I think there's currently a freeze due to FabCon, but 2 weeks from now or 1 week from now, even we'll put you on that list as well, so that customers also get a link to your site from our documentation.
Great. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
and we also do support, we didn't show it in the demo today, but we also support the file system in OneLake. Yeah, so that's is also interesting for some customers, right? It's perhaps, especially maybe for large data volumes, if you just need file storing capabilities, that's also supported.
Exactly, and that's also how we kind of scheduled or organized the integration, right? We did a very first step, which was just, let's say, dumping files into OneLake. But there are lots of customers who believe in doing things that way. Again, same discussion as before with tables or CDS views. There's no right or wrong. Some people prefer to have the raw data landed in files somewhere and do the merge themselves, or do whatever they want with the data, right? We don't even know what exactly they're doing. So, in open mirroring, we're basically, we're predefining an end-to-end flow. And making this or integrating this end-to-end in software. Maybe for some customers, that's not the right way to do things, right? So again, options, openness, and working with an ecosystem, I think is, from my perspective, a very successful and promising approach.
I agree, yeah.
Beautiful closing words, Ulrich.
Yes.
Well, Christoph, Fabian, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for the demo. Really the end-to-end demo, that was really cool as well. And yeah, let's again, Christopher, it was fantastic to see you. And we will stay in touch.
Absolutely. Really appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for having us. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.